Crockett torches, Trump over Melania's $40 million doc. If she's not missing, why is she hiding 3 indictments, 7 court appearances, 0 First Lady sightings? That wasn't just a headline, it was a rupture. It blinked across the MSNBC ticker like blood under a microscope. And as the screen flickered, the whole country seemed to pause mid-breath. Forks hung in the air. Phones slid slowly from ears. It wasn't shock at the legal hurricane swirling around Donald Trump. America had long grown desensitized to the noise. No, this was something different, something quieter, something louder. It was what was missing that changed everything. The camera panned back. The lighting was surgical like a crime scene reconstructed for prime time. And framed beneath it like a prosecutor preparing for a verdict sat Alex Wagner. No smile, no preamble. "Good evening, America," she said, voice sharper than any headline. "Tonight, we confront not a policy or a poll, but a presence or the lack of one. Where is Melania Trump? And more importantly, what does her absence say about the man she married, the man on trial, the man still trying to lead a nation?" The split screen cracked like a whip. Left side, Donald J. Trump, jaw tense posture, a performance in defiance. Right side, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, sleeves rolled, eyebrows lifted with surgical precision. Center, Anthony Scaramucci, arms crossed like a man who had nothing left to lose because he already had. No build-up, no crescendo. The confrontation was the overture. Trump struck first. Of course he did. Let's get one thing straight. He snapped, voice engineered for dominance. Melania's not missing. She's just smart enough to stay away from this media witch trial. Crockett didn't even glance up. Her voice sliced through the studio air glass across granite. "A witch trial, Mr. Trump. Then why is the witch hunter the only one showing up to be burned?" A breathless silence fell over the audience. This wasn't television anymore. This was autopsy. Scaramucci leaned in, voice low but lethal. "She's not absent. She's broadcasting, just not on your network." Trump's lips curled into that familiar half-smirk, half-sneer, the one that used to command rooms. Now it just tried to contain them. Alex Wagner didn't blink. 6 court appearances, 3 campaign rallies, 1 documentary announcement, and still no First Lady in sight. Is this silence strategic, or is it something worse? Trump barked out a laugh too loud, too sharp. "She's being a mother. She's focused on Barron. That's what good women do." Crockett's head lifted slowly. Her voice was velvet-wrapped iron. "And when good women disappear, Mr. Trump, should we ask why? Or should we just pretend they were never there to begin with?" The lights dimmed, not theatrically, but instinctively, like the room itself braced for impact. "She supported me privately," Trump insisted. "That's real loyalty, not this performative garbage." "Performative loyalty," Scaramucci murmured, "is what gets you through a campaign. But silence. Silence is a statement." Alex interjected like a scalpel, not a moderator. "Tonight we investigate that silence. Because when the person closest to you won't stand next to you, not on stage, not in court, not even in a tweet, America has to wonder who is she, protecting her son, or herself." The camera cut to the audience, faces frozen, phones raised, not to record, to remember. Trump puffed up, searching for a new line, something that could replace proximity with performance. "She loves me. She hates the circus. Always has." Crockett leaned forward, eyes sharp, voice slow. "Then why does the ringmaster keep arriving without his act?" There was no laugh track, just the brittle exhale of a man who built an empire on spectacle, and was suddenly the only one left on stage. Scaramucci didn't wait. She turned down every court appearance invite. Jason Miller called her before the Georgia arraignment. She said, and I quote, "Nice try," then hung up. Trump's jaw twitched. Alex turned to the camera, her voice now less news anchor, more narrator. "And tonight we're not just following the money, we're following the shadow, the woman who once stood in heels beside the most powerful man on earth, and now refuses to even stand in frame." Crockett closed her folder slowly, not for drama, for punctuation. "She's not hiding, sir. She's building. $40 million Amazon Prime, directed by Brett Ratner. Not about being First Lady, about being free." Trump slammed the desk. "She's not leaving me. She's just done with you people." "Then why," Crockett said gently, "is her next chapter titled A Portrait of Reinvention? And why aren't you in the credits?" Silence. The camera didn't cut away. It held. Trump alone in his spotlight. And the woman who once lit that stage with presence gone. No resignation, no divorce, just absence. The kind that doesn't whisper. It echoes. It didn't begin with a press release. It didn't begin with a statement from Trump. It began with a whisper, and that whisper crawled out of the entertainment beat, not the politics desk. It didn't scream from CNN, it didn't explode on MSNBC. It dripped quietly like water through marble onto the digital front page of Variety. Amazon Prime confirms $40 million documentary featuring Melania Trump, directed by Brett Ratner, focused on post-White House identity, titled Becoming Invisible. 3 sentences. That's all it took. By the end of the day, it had swallowed the news cycle. Within 30 minutes, Anthony Scaramucci tweeted a still frame from the teaser trailer, Melania, back to camera, silhouetted against a massive white curtain. The caption simply read, "The Curtain Call." MSNBC cut into coverage before the teaser even ended. CNN called it the political trailer of the decade. Fox tried to ignore it until Trump called into Hannity's uninvited voice, a clenched fist. She wouldn't do this? It's not real. It's probably AI. She loves this country. She loves me. This is sabotage. It's all fake. But it wasn't fake. It was broadcast. The trailer didn't show her face, only her hands setting down a wedding ring, a teacup, a press credential with the word guest printed across it in faint gold. Then a voice not hers, a child. When my mom disappeared, she said it was for protection. But she smiled when she said it. That was the weird part. Cut to black. Becoming Invisible, streaming this fall. Campaign staff at Mar-a-Lago were stunned into paralysis. Jason Miller reportedly went into a side office and threw his phone against the wall. Aide after aide denied knowing anything. One whispered to a journalist off the record, "She was writing it under our noses, and we were too busy defending golf outings." Another said, "He built the narrative. She took the pen." Republican mega-donors began texting campaign officials. "Is she still with him? Why now is this coordinated? Does she believe he's guilty?" One donor pulled a $5 million PAC pledge within the hour. But it wasn't the money that shook the tower. It was the mirror, because that's what the trailer was. Not a documentary, not a campaign move, a mirror held up, without shaking. And in that reflection, the former president didn't see support. He saw vacancy. Alex Wagner, cool as steel, led the primetime dissection. She didn't take to the airwaves. She didn't file for divorce. She didn't hold a press conference. She created a trailer, a portrait, and it doesn't feature Donald Trump because it isn't about him. It's about the void he couldn't fill. Crockett joined her that night, and this time she didn't bring folders, just one note card. She read it aloud. When the person closest to power decides to vanish not by force but by choice, it doesn't mean she's hiding. It means she's done playing audience to the collapse. And with that, the conversation shifted. Not, where is Melania? But why did she leave this way? Why now? Why silently inside? Trump's inner circle, it was meltdown theater. He yelled at staffers demanding to know if anyone had spoken to Amazon, if they had coordinated the title, if someone had leaked old footage from the White House archives. Someone suggested maybe Ivanka was involved. Trump reportedly snapped, "She's not even in politics anymore, and she's still cleaner than Melania." It leaked within hours. Crockett responded live on MSNBC. "Cleaner than Melania? Sir, this isn't about clean. This is about clarity. She's not smearing you. She's erasing you. From her story. From her legacy. And you're the only one still shouting into a mic, hoping someone hears you over the silence." Scaramucci chimed in later that night on Twitter, "You built a brand on loyalty, but the one person who owes you none is finally cashing in her silence." The post went viral. Within 24 hours, hashtags trended. Jaws becoming invisible, Josh, First Lady, exit, Aj, exit, with credits. TikTok creators spliced together court footage with the trailer soundtrack. An Instagram account began posting an absence calendar tracking every major Trump event Melania had skipped since January 2023. By the end of the day, it hit 1.2 million followers. But the deepest cut came from the trailer's closing frame, a white screen, silent. Then a single phrase typed slowly, like it was being written on a typewriter. "I was there. I just stopped clapping." That sentence broke something, not just for Trump, for the country. Because Melania wasn't accusing, she wasn't defending, she wasn't pleading, she was narrating. Her silence had evolved into authorship, into spectacle, into the one performance Trump couldn't co-opt. And now, every time he opened his mouth in a courtroom or a rally, the absence behind him wasn't just noticed, it was interpreted. Melania Trump had left the frame, but she kept the footage, and she rolled the credits. The courtroom was full, cameras too, but the chair beside Donald Trump still empty. And on this day, the day-opening arguments were set to begin in United States versus Donald J. Trump regarding election interference and obstruction of justice. That empty space wasn't just noticed, it was documented. "Let the record reflect," the prosecutor said. eyes flicking toward the gallery, that the defendant's spouse has yet to appear at a single proceeding, not as a witness, not as support, not even as an observer. Trump flinched. His lawyer objected, but the judge didn't strike the statement. Because this wasn't about decorum. It was about optics, narrative, intent. And the absence of Melania Trump had gone from gossip column to evidentiary posture. Outside the courtroom, the networks fought for control of the frame. Alex Wagner was live from a rooftop across the street. This morning, as Trump enters court without his wife, his daughter, or even a single visible family member, the narrative shifts once again. It is not just the trial of a former president. It is the unraveling of the myth that surrounded him, the myth of loyalty, the myth of unity, the myth of power inherited through proximity. On Fox News, a split screen. Right. Trump entering the courthouse, jaw clenched, left A. Still from the Becoming Invisible trailer, the white screen, the typed words. I was there. I just stopped clapping. Tucker Carlson blinked into the camera like he'd read the end of a Bible he didn't write. Inside the courtroom, the prosecutor laid it bare. The defendant built his persona on the performance of closeness, on the pageantry of family, but in every meaningful moment, every indictment, every arrest, every arraignment he has stood alone. That's not coincidence. That's calculation. Trump's lawyer rose furious. Objection! Overruled, said the judge. The prosecutor turned slowly. The First Lady is not missing. She's not hospitalized. She's not overseas. She's releasing a documentary, on her terms, in her voice. And that silence, Your Honor, that calculated refusal to show up, has become part of the public record. Gasps didn't come from the public. They came from the press benches, because suddenly absence had been admitted into evidence. Backstage in a green room somewhere in D.C., Jasmine Crockett watched the proceedings with a stillness that could make walls lean closer. An aide asked, "Do you want to respond?" She shook her head. "Not yet. Let the silence work." But it didn't stay silent for long. The following day, a second trailer dropped. This one was shorter, sharper, more brutal. 15 seconds, Melania alone in a hallway, then a soundbite over black screen. He told me to smile. I did, but I never said yes. Then, Becoming Invisible, Chapter 2, Consent. Inside Trump Tower, the walls didn't just close in, they started whispering. Don Jr. ghosted campaign calls. Ivanka posted a beach photo with her kids captioned, "Some things are worth protecting." The RNC began scrubbing Melania from donor emails. Super PACs adjusted imagery. Brochures now showed Trump solo. One strategist said it plainly. She didn't just exit, she detonated the illusion. Then came the witness, unscheduled, unexpected. A former aide to Melania. NDA expired, appearing voluntarily. She wasn't absent by accident. She said, "If I stand next to him now, I become part of the lie." Courtroom froze. Judge raised an eyebrow. "Do you have documentation?" The aide held up a folder. Inside emails, memos. One marked Private Mar-a-Lago Strategy. It contained a sentence from Melania herself. "His greatest fear is not prison. It's being ignored." The courtroom didn't explode. It cracked. Trump didn't speak. For once, the man made of microphones had nothing to amplify. He sat still, breathing, shallow eyes forward. And for the first time since the campaign began, the cameras lingered not on what he said, but on what he couldn't. Outside, Crockett took to the steps of the Capitol. She never raised her voice. She just stopped standing behind his. That's not abandonment, that's revelation. Reporters swarmed. "Do you think Melania is trying to bring him down?" Crockett didn't blink. "No, I think she's saving herself, and maybe showing the country how." That night, the final line of the day's closing coverage aired on MSNBC. Alex Wagner looked straight into the camera. Donald Trump may survive this trial. He may even win the nomination. But in the court of public intimacy, the verdict is in. The silence was loud. The absence was deliberate. And the one woman who could have softened history's judgment chose not to speak. The red carpet wasn't for a Marvel premiere. It wasn't for Cannes, the Oscars, or even the Met Gala. It was for her, Melania Trump, former First Lady, allegedly aloof, consistently silent, and now the unmistakable centerpiece of a political reckoning, masquerading as an Amazon Prime launch party. The title flickered behind her image across every billboard in Times Square, becoming invisible beneath it, a date October 14th. And beneath that, 3 words that had begun to haunt the GOP donor class, a story she chose. It was premiere night. The media called it cultural. The RNC called it sabotage. But the donor class, they called it a warning, Because the event wasn't just a debut. It was an indictment with designer gowns. Every journalist worth their press badge showed up. So did Oprah, Reese Witherspoon, AOC Incognito in glasses and red lipstick. Even Michelle Obama tweeted the trailer with the caption, "Some truths don't need narration, just camera angles." It was everywhere. And most critically, Trump was nowhere. He didn't tweet. He didn't call into Hannity. He didn't even threaten a lawsuit. His silence wasn't strategy. It was surrender. Meanwhile, at a Republican leadership summit in Charleston, panic bled through cufflinks. 2 billionaire donors walked out during Ron DeSantis' speech not because of policy. Because CNN Live from the premiere showed Melania stepping into the screening room to a standing ovation. "No Trump in sight," the Chiron read. Ronna McDaniel reportedly whispered to an aide, "If the woman who slept beside him won't campaign for him, how the hell do we get suburban moms to do it?" That night, the documentary aired. Prime-timed it for 8 p.m. EST, 12 chapters. Each one titled like a courtroom exhibit. Chapter 1, The Smile. Chapter 2, The Balcony. Chapter 3, The Empty Hall. Chapter 4, The Glove. Chapter 5, The NDA. Chapter 6, The Email. Chapter 7, The Shadow. Chapter 8, The Trial. Chapter 9, The Ring. Chapter 10, The Silence. Chapter 11, The Exit. Chapter 12, The Mirror. Each one narrated with no voice, only text, only visuals, only distance, and the final image Melania walking alone down the White House corridor, away from the camera into light. No fade, just her back. The impact was nuclear. Within 48 hours, 5 major GOP donors froze contributions. 2 state chairs publicly called for Trump to step down. Silent First Lady trended worldwide. TikTok flooded with reenactments of the trailer. An Amazon employee leaked the original pitch deck, target demographic women, 35-65, suburban post-Republican post-disillusionment. Fox News, once silent, now scrambled. Jesse Waters asked, "Is this documentary a betrayal of her vows or just an overdue liberation?" Greg Gutfeld sneered, "I didn't know you could ghost a presidency." Laura Ingraham broke rank, "She doesn't owe us anything. Maybe we owe her a listen." Then came the call. Trump's legal team reached out to Amazon demanding edits retractions, or at minimum, a disclaimer. Amazon responded with one sentence: the footage was provided voluntarily and legally. Back on Capitol Hill, Jasmine Crockett held a press conference. She didn't gloat. She clarified, "This is not revenge. This is reclamation. What we are witnessing is not the fall of a man, it's the end of a franchise. And the woman who used to stand behind the product. She canceled the subscription." A reporter asked, "Do you think she'll testify in court?" Crockett's eyes sharpened. She already did. She just used a camera instead of a bench. By week's end, major headlines wrote themselves. The First Lady, who resigned without speaking. America's most devastating quiet. What happens when she leaves the frame? Meanwhile, Trump returned to court, alone, again. And this time, even the judge addressed it. The absence of the defendant's spouse has become a public matter of record. This court will not speculate on its relevance, but the public already has. The last moment of the week came not from a courtroom, but a phone, a hot mic somewhere in Trump Tower. An aide quietly, "He said he thought she'd come back by now." Another replied, "She already did, just not to him." It began as a silence, then a trailer, then a title card, then a documentary. Now it was a movement. Becoming invisible wasn't trending anymore. It was transforming. Across suburbs, churches, private Facebook groups, and corporate boardrooms, women weren't just reposting Melania's silhouette, they were mirroring it. Not just rejecting Trump, rejecting the frame he forced them into. In Phoenix, a local school board member resigned mid-meeting. She left a note on the dais. 4 words, "I was there too." In Des Moines, a Republican city councilwoman announced she was switching parties. She quoted the final line of Becoming Invisible. "I was told to clap. I stopped." In Wisconsin, a congressional candidate ran a 30-second ad with no dialogue. Just a woman staring into a bathroom mirror. Then the words, "This time, I write the script." Back in Washington, Trump's campaign went into full triage. A leaked email from a senior advisor read, "We can't control the narrative. She authored it. She's more viral than we are." Meanwhile, the GOP fractured in real time. On air, Meghan McCain said, "This isn't just about Melania. This is about every political wife who smiled through the lie." On the House floor, a moderate Republican broke party lines and called for a public ethics inquiry into Trump's financial ties and to media enterprises citing Amazon. He was booed, but outside a crowd had gathered. Women, dozens, dressed in beige coats and white gloves, holding signs that read, "I'm not missing, I'm watching." Silence doesn't mean consent. She left first. We followed. At the RNC winter fundraiser, donors were jittery. One whispered to another, "This isn't just a Melania issue, it's contagion." She didn't abandon him, she declared independence, and women noticed. On MSNBC, Alex Wagner launched a new special, The Silent Campaign, When Women Walk Out. Her opening monologue, "This is not a political crisis, it's a narrative one. Trump's greatest illusion was control, and Melania just showed the world what happens when the co-star rewrites the plot without him." Fox News scrambled for counter-narratives. Tucker Carlson aired a segment titled, "Melania's Betrayal, a Deep State Psyop." It didn't land. The comments were filled with women posting, "I'm not a psyop, I'm just done." Then the debate happened. It was supposed to be Trump's comeback stage. Instead, it turned into a slow-motion implosion. Moderator, Mr. Trump. Can you explain why your wife hasn't appeared at any campaign or legal event this cycle? Trump. She supports me, privately. She's focused on our son. She's not a political show pony. Moderator. Then why is she the most watched political voice in America right now? Trump fumbled, repeated himself, then snapped, "You people don't know anything about loyalty." The clip went viral, but not for him, for the silence that followed, the kind of silence that felt like a verdict. In a town hall the following week, Crockett was asked if she thought Melania was a political hero. She shook her head. "No, not a hero. A mirror." The audience fell still. She continued, "Not all protest wears a banner. Sometimes it just walks away. Sometimes it walks quietly. But when the cameras follow it, not the candidate, what does that say about the real center of power?" At a campaign rally in Ohio, Trump supporters stood beneath banners that read, "Make America Great Again." But half the seats were empty. A reporter asked a volunteer why turnout was so low. The volunteer shrugged. "A lot of women said they weren't coming, said they were done clapping. I didn't get it at first. Now I do." Back at Amazon headquarters, the streaming data was in. Becoming Invisible had outperformed The Crown House of Cards and The Social Dilemma. It had become the most watched political documentary in history. More importantly, it had become a signal, not a story of loss, a blueprint for exit. And every woman who'd ever smiled through the lie now had a map, drawn not with words, but with silence. There was no podium, no rally, no courtroom. No documentary premiere, just a stage, empty. Until a single chair was placed at its center, then a screen, then the lights. It wasn't campaign season anymore, it was epilogue season. And Donald Trump, once the architect of the greatest media machine in political history, was now walking into the final scene of a story he no longer authored. The event was billed as a Vision for America town hall, the Trump campaign's attempt to reboot after months of hemorrhaging support, donors, and credibility. It was supposed to be a resurrection, but everyone watching knew better. This wasn't a comeback, it was a confrontation. And the ghost haunting the room wasn't an indictment, it was a woman. Alex Wagner moderated, Jasmine Crockett joined. The RNC insisted on it. "We want balance," they said. But balance was never an option, because Trump walked on stage alone. And across from him was the empty chair, the one no one would address directly. The one labeled FLOTUS Reserved. First question came from Alex. "Mr. Trump, your campaign has been dogged not by legal battles but by proximity. You've stood alone, for months, not just in court but in public. Why hasn't your wife appeared beside you?" He sighed, then lied. "She supports me, privately. She's protecting our family. She hates the media circus." Crockett leaned forward. "Is she protecting your family or protecting herself from it?" Trump didn't answer. Alex followed up. "Did you know she was filming the documentary while you were under indictment?" He blinked. "She's allowed to have a life. I respect that. I support that." Crockett, "Then why try to block its release?" Silence. The screen behind them flickered. It wasn't supposed to. The producers swore it wasn't part of the program. But the feed cut to a still frame, Melania, white coat, neutral expression, walking away from the Capitol steps. Text appeared, "This is not an ending. It's an extraction." The audience didn't gasp. They inhaled, deep, unified, like they knew this moment had been waiting to happen. Trump spoke finally. "You people don't understand. You never liked her. You never protected her. Alex cut in. Sir, she protected herself. From you. The room pulsed, not with applause, but with realization. The final blow came from Crockett. Mr. Trump history will remember this presidency for many things, but one question will outlive the slogans if the woman who knew you best chose silence. What does that say about the truth you never said? Trump stared ahead. The empty chair beside him stayed empty. The broadcast ended. No slogans, no cheers. Only the credits, directed by no one, written by absence. Narrated by a woman who left without saying goodbye. The next morning, Trump's campaign posted a photo of him alone in a diner. Still fighting, the caption read. Someone quote tweeted it, still pretending. And then came the final public statement. Not from Melania, from Amazon. A one-line press release, becoming invisible. Final cut now streaming, includes new unseen footage. The clip, Melania in a garden, alone, no makeup, just a book. She looks up, then says, "There are exits you walk through, and exits you write. I chose the latter." America didn't erupt. It exhaled. And the story that began with applause ended with a door. Quietly. Closing.